Hello, thank you for joining our podcast today. It was originally 10 minutes long and I just spent 6 hours doing it, but I accidentally just deleted all the files within it, so now I'm redoing it. But besides the fact that it's just going to be a slideshow of a couple pictures now, I'm going to explain each one. Nevertheless, let's get into it. The 1920s were times of great prosperity for all of the people in North America and, in fact, around the world. Lots of new technologies invented, like radios, cars, aviation. But eventually, in 1929, the stock market saw a huge crash, which basically put everyone to panic and everyone lost their jobs. All right, let's talk about a bit of the culture that was happening back in the 1920s. Jazz music definitely saw a rise. A lot of famous dances known as the Charleston arose from the Black American culture. A lot of famous artists like Luke Pellington and Louis Armstrong arose to the spotlight. A lot of famous actors such as Mary Pickford and Charlie Chaplin came into the film scene. So life was good for everybody back in the 1920s. People were investing in stocks, guaranteed to get more money than what they invested. All he needed was little time and little money, and he would just invest in a stock and he would get lots of money. Of course, all good things do come to an end. In 1929, of course, the stock market came to a crash. People began losing their jobs because of what happened. And eventually, in 1933, 1/3 of Canadians lost their jobs. So not such a fun time for everyone eventually, because this time is known as the Great Depression. Well, nevertheless, let's get into the interviews. A guest for us on the podcast today, his name is Ben Lewis. He resides in Alabama. He's going to tell us a couple things, so welcome. I have a couple questions for you. My first question for you is, what was life in the 1920s like for you? Like, was it good, or was it bad, or unpleasant? I remember the 1920s so fine. Oh, those were good years for us. Things were looking up mighty well, mighty fine. I remember back in 1927, we had real good harvests. All of the crops seemed like they were just angels coming in from heaven, and they just dropping the wheat on our fields. And I remember we were getting all the money coming in, and we would use it to buy new farm tools, new types of technology used on our farms to buy all the new stuff, because they were inventing lots of stuff back then. And I remember saying to myself in 1927, I remember that harvest, I was telling myself, I don't think there's no way that we could be seeing the end of this. And I was like, there was no end to what we was seeing. Alright, yeah, that's understandable. So my second question for you might be a bit of a contrast. What was life like for you in the 1930s? It's a bit of a funny question, actually. I'm still living in the 1930s. I'm stuck there. But I'm just coming to visit 2016 temporarily. But I remember back in 1929, that October, that fateful, fateful October, I remember hearing about the stock market crashing. I didn't think it would affect me in any sort of way whatsoever, but somehow it did. Eventually, I stopped losing all my customers. I wasn't getting as much money as I thought I would be getting for my crops. So, me and my wife, we sold our farm for not nearly as much value as it was worth. Not as much, but with that little money, we went and bought a house out in the city. But out in the city, I tried looking for a job, and there was none. I remember it was a really hard time for me. It's me and my wife. We eventually had to sell a home, and we were living out in the streets because we couldn't afford it. Nobody could afford anything. I remember those years really hard for me. Right now, I'm living out with my cousin out in Tennessee, but it wasn't for him, me and my wife would still be sleeping out on the benches. My last question for you is, do you have anything you would want to tell our viewers living out in 2016 today? Do you have any advice or... Yeah, I do. For all you viewers out there, you'll need to be aware that when things are looking up, you need to still be aware that they can still bounce back down. I know y'all are living out in easy times right now, but you need to be aware that things can change really quickly. Things have the capability of turning around. I know it might be a bit of a pessimistic statement, but you need to keep your eyes open for what could happen. It could all happen over again. You'll never know. It's a bit of a cycle. So keep your eyes open. Thank you. Thank you so much, Ben. Well, that looks like it's going to be all the time we have for today, so thank you very much for joining the podcast today, and see you again next time. There won't ever be a next time.